But our guest is Lenah Mati. She's a lawyer. Good morning, Lenah.
Good morning, Eric.
Very well. How are you?
I'm well, a little bit under the weather, but I'm fine.
Don't worry.
Thank you.
Hii weather, tutadil nayo.
Well,
This too shall pass.
Thank you.
I told you, we are socialized. It will be fine.
yeah, we are.
Utapona.
Amen.
Yeah?
Yes.
Hey, see, you've come with notes.
Yes.
Hey, okay.
Eric, I'm always a focus student.
You know?
Yes.
We
A
will get
student.
into this now. We are the A students. Wale wanakwanga hapo mbele. Index 1.
Yes.
Hey. Jano, please give index 1 today's quote.
Index 1. Unaandika notes, Lenah. Nasoma quote.
Now ask her the question. The factors that...
Oh my gosh.
Give Kwanzaa somebody who went to study law past history.
100%.
That's true.
Right?
Yes.
So ask that question. Give 10
What
factors
that led to the beginning of World War I.
Oh my God.
Lenah, let's go.
Watch stress. Don't do 10. Compare to Moja. If you
That
can
led
remember.
to?
The beginning or the start of World War I.
The beginning of World War One. Wow. I think I've forgotten.
It could come back to you at the end of the...
It will
At the
come
end
back.
of the-
Yes.
yes.
Before we finish the conversation and I've responded to you.
By the time Janu finishes her quote, you'll be like,
it was that one.
Book.
It's because today's quote is inspired by. Inspired by is actually the wrong one. It is from what happened 111 years ago today, which was when World War I actually started.
Yes.
And here we go. So it was the Austria-Hungary declaring war on Serbia, and then it triggered a global conflict. That happened 111 years ago today, July 28th, 1914. Then 5 years later, there's a French general. Now when they were saying, okay, please, can we not with this chaos? They signed the Treaty of Versailles. But when he was signing it, he warned that this is just something that's not going to go on, not going to take anything away. I don't think we've addressed the issue. So in the quote, he said, this is not peace. It's an armistice for 20 years. So that's the quote for today. It's an armistice for 20 years. It's not peace. And then 20 years later, World War II broke out. But how do you see it in relation to some of the temporary agreements we have in Kenyan politics? Do you see any similarities, handshakes, etc.? Do you feel like they're also just a temporary pause, but we haven't really resolved the bigger issue?
Yes, that's absolutely. I'm for the idea that the dialogue actually that has been proposed by the former Prime Minister is not essentially to address the issues that the young people have raised. It's to silence them, to just bring some sense of calmness in the country so that the political elite can feel a bit comfortable. But at the end of it all, we will not be able to see any kind of solutions coming from that dialogue, because we've had dialogues before, we've had conversations before. Even last year the young people had town hall meetings, Twitter X spaces with the president, but there was nothing that has resulted from it. In fact, we've not seen any kind of goodwill from the president in trying to address the issues that we have raised. So for me, yes, I believe that those boardroom meetings that the leaders usually have, even national and international space, they don't bring anything. They're just something that is temporary to just calm the situation and be seen like they are trying to address the issues, but they are not.
What should you have instead of those?
I think basically it's just the goodwill of the leaders. There's little that we can do beyond that. It's just the goodwill of the leaders to address the issues that are being raised. Yes.
Okay. Lenah, what do you do?
I'm a lawyer by profession. I'm not yet an advocate. Yes, and I'm one of the young people that are using their voices to agitate for change in our country.
What's change?
Change within the governance sector, because I think for a long time we've tolerated poor governance, corruption, police brutality, poor healthcare services, unemployment, and all those things. And the young people have come out and said that, what, I think this is the end of the road. We need to have something that is new. Otherwise, if we don't, we are descending into a place of no return as a country. We'll never get back, to the good that this country can be. Yes.
I think of young people and the conversation around governance, and it's always like, it's time for young people to come to the table. We need young people, the leaders of tomorrow. It's always speaking in future tense, and it just never seems like anyone is really focusing on the present, except now young people are like, yeah, now is the time. Do you think that shift is as universal as we think? And I mean, I'm saying universal, but I mean countrywide, or is it just something that is heavy on social media, on the spaces that we interact in? If 35-year-old candidate run for president and fit the bill for all the things that we want, do you think they would be able to sweep the country?
I believe so. I think for the first time in a while, we have been able to see young people really aggressively demand for change. I don't think this is just a moving wave. You know, I always say that in a revolution, when a country is in a revolution mode, there's the revolution mode which doesn't last forever. It's just to voice out the issues that they feel they are dissatisfied with. And then from there we go to reforms. So one of the things that I've actually seen beyond the revolution is young people coming out and doing some part of reforms because reforms is from within and without. So I've seen young people going out there to educate their fellow young people. I've seen young people going out there. Actually, I think today in every 4 youth, 2 of them are vying, you know, and they're saying that you want to contribute to change. So I don't think that this is something that is temporary. I think this is something that is solid. I think this is something that is going to pull through all the way to 2027. And I believe that you're going to see some changes come 2027 elections.
Right.
Yes.
Which brings me now to my next worry. I definitely do agree that, this idea that there'll be this huge spark that lasts until 2027 is kind of warped. We do need to move to something else like reform and to organizing and all those things. But there's a resistance, especially to organizing. How do we reform without organizing? I don't think it's possible. But there's a resistance in so many quarters to organizing of any form, to leaders, to political parties, to those things that would then be, the kind of catalyst for reform.
Of course, there will always be a resistance. But I think we've moved beyond the resistance. And I think one of the things that as young people we must seek to do is that we must seek to be more organized. I listened to Kigame when he was talking about the minority who can defeat the majority, and I hold the same view. If you look at the Arab Spring,
an organized minority.
Yes. If you look at the Arab Springs that happened more than 10 years ago, the young people out there in those countries, Tunisia, Libya, and the Middle East, went out to the streets, and they were demanding for change just like we are doing. True. And when they went out to the streets, they called out for the governance and even calling out the rogue regimes to vacate office. Years later now, most of them have not been successful. Actually, what happened is that some of those countries descended into chaos and into civil war. And this is because one thing, Mariam, is that political power abhors vacuum. And political power will always favor the organized. So if the majority of the people, us young people, are not capable of organizing ourselves to take over power or even endorsing people, then we are going to fail. And then we are going to have other factions that are more organized and more prepared taking power, and then it will be like we have just paved the way for them, just like what happened in those countries, because militia and extreme terrorists took over power, and up to date those countries have never recovered. So just like you always say, that is one of the things that keeps me awake at night. We're not able to clearly see that, you know, we are organized and we are ready to embrace new leadership.
Very true. No, because we need to learn from the lessons of the past.
It's
absolutely true.
And be open to learning from them. Again,
how would that look like though?
Learning from the lessons of the past.
Yeah, and how much time is there to
learn?
To learn.
It's Ngumbaru school, and it's a fast track.
It's also, I keep saying, and I could be wrong, but it's like uncharted territory for us. There's been people who I think have had so many waves of starting, pushing back. Maybe there's a promise that's made, they settle for a bit, they start again. I feel one of the biggest things is uncharted territory for us. It also comes into things like, please, you're now too angry. You know, people who now put messages up when they're pushing for justice. Somebody will say, "Aye, must you always?" I'm like, this is what keeps us from that sustained momentum. I think we haven't been here before, then we don't know what it looks like. But I think we saw what it looked like last year when young people led. But I think there's a nervousness of, okay, you guys did so great. Can we go back to things the way they were? We go back right to our comfort zone, even though I think everybody is a bit triggered. I wanted to ask something about, I know that legal reforms matter, but what is that one barrier, whether it's legal, that keeps young people out from, just having their political views integrated, political participation? Is there something like that exists? Because I feel like there's barriers that seem to lock people out. What's the one barrier that you've observed? This is a barrier that's locking young people out of decision-making, participation, from a legal perspective.
I think what I have observed is not really a legal barrier per se, because I think we have, if it's about the laws, we have very good laws, we have very progressive constitution, but I just feel like the law is being used against us. Like now, for instance, when the young people went out to the streets, some of them were arrested and charged with terrorism. You know, it's law that is being used against us. And also I feel like we have made so many reforms, but now we are not seeing the implementation of those reforms. For me right now, I can't think of a law per se, but I just think that the law is being used against the young people.
Very true.
Yes.
And in a country that has, like you said, a robust constitution, that it does get very worrying when the law is weaponized against us. What do you think is the way to now to fight that? Because it's very philosophical almost, because it's almost an invisible enemy, because again they have followed due process by the time they're charging you with terrorism. I don't know what, again, the threshold is very high, and do investigations happen before you charge or after? All those are questions we can ask, but it's not an abduction, it's not a disappearance, it's we have brought you to court. So in that case, I feel like it feels like they are, you know, weaponizing the law. Then you don't know how to fight that, because with disappearances, with abductions, it's just very obviously this is wrong, this is unconstitutional, bring them back alive. But then when someone is charged with terrorism, it's like, okay, how do I fight that?
Exactly. That's very true. You see, one of the things that the government will always do in such kind of a situation is try to suppress. And they will look for the loopholes, even within the legal system, to try and suppress the young people. I mean, that's one of the easiest ways. I mean, they were like, we are following the due process. Even if the international community looks, we are following the due process. You know, it's being done duly. And so it will use one of those ways to suppress the young people. But for us to be able to win, even as the young people, it requires a community. It requires the involvement of each and every person. And this is where the institutions come in. Because if we have the right institutions, like if the police force are doing the right thing, if the judiciary is doing the right thing, then we are going to see the young people actually go beyond that kind of suppression. I've seen the LSK doing great work when it comes to helping the young people. There have also been other civil societies that have done some good work. But at the end of the day, you know, it's politics. Governance is majorly politics. And unfortunately, there's no any other way of getting into governance without the avenue of politics. So politics will always play. But for now, I just think that it's just also institutions institutions come together and helping us, just helping one another. Yes.
And I think we've managed that quite well, I would say.
Yes.
For the last year or so, it's the LSK doing mostly pro bono legal work.
That's true.
It's IMLU and Medics for Kenya doing, again, pro bono work on anyone who was part of the protest and just treating anyone who was part of the protest, including police officers themselves. It's all of us just coming. It's people, you know, putting together money to cater for medical bills, to now pay for bail for people who are charged with terrorism. So I think we've hacked the community bit. That organization level, it's now transcending. But I know it's now moving to now the next level of beyond organizing for this short-term fixes. How do we organize for the long-term fix?
Including lasting policy change as one example. It's a good question Mariam brings, which is we saw Gen Z and millennials organizing, mobilizing, we still see it. So how do you translate that energy into something that could look like, for example, lasting policy change?
But now you see, Janet, even the problem is also with policy. Because now, even with policy, the government will still go over that policy. I mean, it's not like we don't have laws in our country. We have so many laws that protect the people. But we still see the government and, you know, the respective agencies that are mandated with actually protecting the people coming to hurt those people. So for me, I just think the problem is majorly with the political class. Because most of these agencies are actually led by the political class. So
I hear you. Even as I'm asking, I'm like, I know. I know, Lenah, is like, we have policies, we have laws, but if they're not being weaponized, they're being circumvented. But we must ask. I also wonder how you can guard against tokenism, you know, bringing young people to summits and everything, and then still leaving them out of decision making. That's something that we've seen. And I think right now we do have incredible young people who literally have all the potential to lead, to be our leaders. But I just wonder how you can, what's that gut feeling that tells you, this is tokenistic, this is valid? How do you guard against tokenism?
I think one of the things that disturbs our leadership, and especially among the young people, is tokenism. Even when you see during the times of nomination, I think we are not given those spaces because these people really care about the youth, but because it's a tokenistic nature.
True.
And one thing, Janet, it's not just about politicians themselves, but we must also, as the young people, be able to address the same. I always say that for us to be able to have a meaningful conversation and that is going to result in meaningful solutions, we must first begin by telling ourselves the truth. And I just use this government. This government was not brought by, didn't come from heaven. Jesus Christ did not come with a host of angels and tell us you need to vote for this government. This government was not imposed on us by Russia, China, or those other countries. We purposefully manufactured this government during the election period. So if there is a part that, if there's action that the government has done that don't sit well with the people, we are also to blame. And if you look at the youth are the majority, meaning that we contributed into voting to this government. One of the things that affects the young people is the thirst for power. You know, right now I've just told you that out of the 4 people, 2 of them that I know are vying.
Are vying, yes.
Actually, they've even started calling themselves Mheshimiwa, Honorable so and so. I think I'm the only person that is not being referred to Mheshimiwa in my circle.
Wanakuonaje? Si poa.
You need to ask that again. So tokenistic culture is not just being contributed by the politicians.
On one side,
yeah, it's not just on one side. It's also on us, actually, on us as well. So I think if we can unite as young people and say no to this kind of culture, we can be able to win over the politicians. You see, one of the things that affects us as a people is what I call political low self-esteem. We don't know what we want. Everyone is out there chasing for what they want, but you don't know as a country what it is that we want.
Yeah.
And so because we don't know what we want, we are easily led.
Right.
You know, we are easily very led.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see that. And what you've said about the tokenism being two-sided is incredibly true.
Yes.
Then I think it's, again, we are part of the problem. So in 2022, there was this issue of like young people not turning out to vote. I think we'll have a very different problem now in 2027. I think young people will turn out to vote.
Yes.
Another question is for who? And that's where the tokenism comes in. Because if we're not at a point where we know clearly that if this person doesn't have this value and has this track record, I'm not voting for them. I don't think we're there yet. So how do we fix here before we start fixing there? Because we're trying to fix parliament, but clearly I want to be called Mhesh. And not because of the service to the people, but just because it's cool and I would have a nice car.
I think one of the things that is actually helping with that is civic education. Civic education is not just about us knowing the leaders and seeing the kind of qualities, but it's also about us. True. Before we actually compete for those positions, we need to do a civic education. And we also need to, and civic education must seek to achieve merit-based voting. You know, and we need to bring our friends to accountability. One of the things that, if a friend of mine tells me that they're buying, one of the things that I always ask them is, what is it that you have done? What have you done in your sphere of influence, wherever you are? If you're in school, what have you done? If you are in a community, what is it that you've done? In your church, what is it that you've done? For me, I will look at the track record. Because let me tell you something, politicians are very cunning.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it narrows down, even when our young leaders who are very undefiled, you know, they're very innocent. I think once they get into the political space actively, they always change. And the thing is this, Mariam, Janet, and Eric, before someone goes out there to declare that they're going to vie, they will carry out a grassroots assessment. And a grassroots assessment is whereby the person goes out and gets to know from the people what kind of a leader do you want, the qualities, the education, and all those things. And then the person will curate themselves to fit that narrative and come in as a solution. Now, when they come in as a solution, it's very simple. They appeal to the emotions of the people. And you see, this is very, because this is a youth segment, I think I can use this. When a man is trying to woo a woman, he comes in with a very catchy words, very good pet names. Suddenly he knows which is the best restaurant in town, which is the best designer perfume and all those things. So my friends or people have it. Let it be put in bold, not me. But people always say that once the hunter catches the prey, all those things disappear.
Yeah.
You know,
Recruitment budget versus operational budget.
All those things suddenly disappear.
Yeah.
And they, you know, you go back to status quo. In fact, that's when he knows, kumbe, this is Esther. It's no longer baby, it's Esther Wanjiru from Uranga. You know?
When the love bombing has taken its...
It's the same thing. And I think one of the things that we need to do is to protect our young people from getting into this kind of culture, this lying culture, this kind of cunning culture, whereby a politician just comes and seeks something. Once they've gotten whatever it is that they want, they are no longer beloved. They are now criminals. You know, you're not calling them criminals. I think that is one of the things that the civic education must seek to address, voting based on merit.
Right.
Yes.
Giuliani would say, kuuza sura wataki kuuza sera.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing the call for some sort of a united front with a clear end of the tunnel where there's a light. Why is the light never in the tunnel? Why does it have to be at the end of
Because you have to go through the wilderness.
Bring it to the tunnel. Anyway, so here's that's the push, right?
Yes.
And I like the way you've given those examples of what happened in the Arab Spring.
Yes.
Where the youth were involved and then somebody came in and swooped that entire movement by the youth and it went elsewhere.
Yes.
Not just in the Arab Spring. I was just reminding my history here, recent news history. Thailand, there was a guy called Thaksin Shinawatra. He was a prime minister between 2001 and 2006. Popular among the people, especially the rural folk. They really liked him. But the urban middle class, you know those ones? The elites, you know those ones?
Yes.
And the military accused him of corruption, abuse of power, and authoritarian tendencies. Now, there were several protests. Around 2006, they were called the Yellow Shirts. The People's Alliance for Democracy, that was opposed to Thaksin. They were accusing him of undermining democracy and the monarchy. And so, of course, people that liked the monarchy, the royalists liked him. The urban middle class liked him. The military liked him. There were protests out in the streets, not many youth-led. 2 governments of Thaksin's failed, collapsed. And in 2006, he was ousted in a military coup while he was abroad, and the military accused him of corruption and disrespect of the monarchy. Okay? So the military now took over power. And now people who were supporters of Thaksin came out into the streets. Remember, the others who were against him were yellow shirts. Now red shirts came to the streets. Now the red shirts protest, trying to get the military out, and so on and so forth. Things didn't happen. Youth youth particularly silent. Around 2020s, the youth started now getting engaged and getting involved. Youth-led pro-democratic protests started in 2020, criticizing the military and the monarchy. They were not supporting Thaksin. In fact, they were saying, military Thaksin fagia wote.
Yes.
Does it sound familiar?
Yes.
Fagia wote. And they said fagia wote, fagia wote, fagia wote. Those governments fell. The military government fell. A party affiliated to, guess who? Thaksin Shinawatra came back to power. Okay?
Yes.
So this whole youth of fagia wote, nini, military left. But who came back is the other guy who was there before. Fire going, fire not sustaining. Revolutions being hijacked.
Yes.
There are lessons to learn in very many parts of the world, not just now, going back into many years in history. So what is it that the youth can do to learn, like you said, and then know this is what we'd like? Because clearly from all these things, they know what they do not want. We do not want Thaksin Shinawatra. We do not want the military. We do not want, what was the leader in Egypt called? Hosni Mubarak. We do not want the military. We do not want this and the other. What did they end up with? So what do you want? Somebody comes and they become the what you want. Sudan, we do not want this guy, let him go. What do you want? What do we have in Sudan now? How can these lessons be picked and used going forward in this whole movement of the youth?
Wow. So, just like I said before, that one of the things that keeps me awake is the fact that we don't know what we want as the young people. And even for me right now, I'm still struggling with the kind of candidate that I would pick if elections were being held today. But I'm also giving myself some grace and saying that I need to do some due diligence before I pick a certain candidate. But I think as the young people, we need to be enlightened. One of the things that we can boast about as young people is that we are literate. Actually, you know, someone told me some time back that as an educated person, it's very easy to lead. But as an educated person, it's very easy to be led. You know, you're just like like sheep. So as educated people, I believe that it becomes very easy for us to make decisions, good decisions. But of course, Eric, we are struggling, you know, in terms of what we want. I will not lie to you. That's why I'm also struggling with what to tell you. I'm also struggling with what to tell you.
Maybe acceptance is part one. Accepting that there's a gap. Yeah, we can't continue like this. History has told us time and time again that you need to organize, you need leaders, you need shared values and ideologies that are the base of your movement in order to move forward. That's a lesson. So just accepting that knowing where leaderless and tribeless were coming from and how absolutely necessary they were at that time, because you were afraid of co-opting, and that's fair, that's okay. But also understanding that moving forward to sustain things, then something has to change. I think acceptance is part one. Then when the people who do know the how come and try to speak, they won't get shut down because people have already, there'll be a listening ear. At least there'll be an openness to the conversation. Because there are people who know the how, who know the how to move from this to that. I think it's just accepting it was necessary to be leaderless, tribeless, to be, you know, faceless, because that was a finance bill that needed to go. It's fine. But now we're beyond that. You're saying you want a whole administration to go. You're going to need a bit more. And that's okay to accept. History, again, is the best teacher. So I think for me, acceptance, just knowing that if we are really very honest with ourselves about where we want the country to go and these shared values and ideologies that we're pushing for, then it's okay to accept that there is a how to get there. And it's been done before, and it can be done. Just acceptance. Step
I think
one.
that's well said, because acceptance also gives you, like you said, the ability to be teachable, to listen. But yeah, there is real PTSD because people come and say, I'll lead you, and then it's character development.
Exactly. Especially for the young people that we've seen lead the movements, like stand and guide the movement. They never get, you know,
I also think we do
and I
have
think that's a good thing. So this is, I think it's a good thing
to also see
what
did work out.
You see very, very quickly.
Like
true. Let's see who comes, who gets co-opted, and they just drop through the chaff from the wheat. Then we remain with who is actually about change.
So, it's to appreciate all the ebbs and flows of what happens. But yeah, I do agree that there comes a time when you just have to say. And I also think I think there's some people who already seem like the leaders, but people maybe are not really ready to vocalize it yet.
To acknowledge.
So maybe acceptance will also come kind of to acknowledgement. Also, there are other leaders to come. Lenah, for example. There could be others that will rise. But I feel like it's going to say a starter pack. There's a group that shows that they have the potential, but acknowledgement and acceptance, acceptance will lead to acknowledgement. Then I think things begin to flow.
Now the hard question is truly, again, and I ask this question a lot. Young people are not one uniform, mass. The values that we espouse to, or that we think that we espouse to, are they universal for young people across the country?
but probably can come up again. Are they universal in terms of?
Are they the same? So the quest for change, do you think that's universal for not just young people, actually, for everybody across the country? Because we can say, oh, we want change, we want better, but maybe there's a lot of quiet people who actually are okay. Yeah, they're okay and they want things to stay the same.
I love that question, Mariam. And I will first start by reminding you that we live in a democracy. And I always say that all of us, we cannot support one person or one thing. We cannot all hate one person or one thing. Not all of us will hate President William Ruto. Even Hitler, one of the worst people to ever exist, still people loved him. There are people that still loved him and believed in his vision. So there are people that, of course, they don't feel like we need change. They just feel like we are okay. But I think the majority of them feel like they want change. And you saw that not only depends on circumstances. There's someone who has come up from a very good background and you're telling them about change, you know. What is it that you're telling them about, you know? I mean, for them, they've come up from a very comfortable background.
Right.
So they don't feel like, I need change.
They don't feel the pinch.
They don't feel the pinch. But at the end of the day, I always, it's not about... it's about why you don't need the change. Even when someone tells me I'm supporting this person, probably I just feel like I'm supporting the regime. I'm like, why are you supporting it? That's where we need to have a conversation. So if you tell me that you don't feel like you need change because of these and these reasons, then probably I will agree and disagree with you depending on what you have said. But at the end of the day, we will not all support one thing. But from what I know is that majority of the young people, there's a reawakening. Majority of the young people, not just young people, even your generation, the older people, I believe that you also want change. You could feel it in the horizon. And I think we just need to feel like Kenya is at a point of rebirth and we must support each other. Yes.
Can I read some feedback as we continue the conversation? Charles Ndungo, the youth may be struggling with who to support, but one thing is sure that whoever comes in will not have an easy ride. Either you shape up or you shape out. I'm sure Lenah is like, yep, agreed,
yes.
tick. Emmanuel Templar, one thing Ruto miscalculated was his assumption that young people are clueless. He was surprised when they challenged arbitrary taxes, and it seems like he still feels the same way. Paul Minor, aka Staki Mapepe, says the youth must look for a leader to identify with or have, have one of their own and back them. However, even the youth themselves are not homogeneous and have divergent views, which is literally what Lenah has just spoken to. So just some interesting feedback.
Right. So we don't have, what's Staki Mapepe saying? We don't have homogeneous, and we're not homogeneous, and we have divergent views. Very, very true. Is there any underlying shared ideology?
I think all want better. I think even in my estimation, everybody wants better. Youth, young, old, everybody wants better. Everybody wants things to change, to improve. There are those that feel that it's all broken completely.
Yes.
We need to change completely. The others that feel, yeah, it's been broken, we are getting towards the better.
Yes.
Right? That currently what we are seeing is an effort at fixing it.
Yes.
So we don't need to disrupt this effort, ongoing effort at fixing.
Yes.
Others will say, this is not an effort at fixing, it's actually an effort at destroying. And that's where maybe the divergence comes in. It's how do we get to that end of the tunnel? That's the question. For many, are we all in agreement that, the solution is this particular route? And that's where I think, and like you said, it's a democracy. The divergence is fine. It's for everybody to come out and convince the other that their path
is the better
path that's going to lead us there. But if you're all here arguing on, no, we don't have a path yet, you wait first, let's get a path, and so on and so forth, but we know which path we are not going to take. That path we will not take. We just don't know which path we are going to take.
Lenny has said by next year, young people would have decided.
Okay.
He has foreshadowed.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a democracy. Agreed.
It's how we get there. Again, looking back at, we've had conversations with the people who were pushing for a return of multipartyism, official return of multipartyism in Kenya, 80s into the 90s. And while they were pushing for a return to multipartyism, after that, it was now pushed for the exit of Moi.
Yes.
So the entire 90s decade was Operation Moi out. It was basically just Moi must go, yote wezekana. But underlying that, there needs to be a fix of this structure such that we don't get back into Moism. And that's why we're saying, let's change the constitution and so on and so forth.
Yes.
What I'm hearing presently is that, yes, there's a problem, but the solutions lie in the constitution.
Yes.
If we just go into fidelity to the constitution, then we are addressing our issues. People don't, however, say, so what is it that about this constitution that's not being implemented? What are these stumbling blocks? Where we talk about a person. And I think that a big issue with, it's good when you personify the problem, so you're all able to attack it.
Yeah.
But when you just have that one person as the problem, then you also are going to miss all these others who think like this one person.
Very true.
Who are going to come and emerge, and they'll continue with the problem. Yeah. So if
True.
I wish we were having a conversation about the problem is the adherence to the constitution, and these are the institutions that we have in place that are supposed to be the ones that safeguard our constitution. Say, Parliament. How do we fix Parliament? By electing right.
Yes.
How do we fix our counties? By electing right into the county assemblies. How do we, once we have that, then the Judicial Service Commission members will be, if Parliament is strong, even the JSC members will have to toe the line.
That
That
the
means
essence
that
of Fagia water.
that is it. That's the essence of Fagia water into what? It's the Fagia
think
water
it's a
of toa
start.
military, toa taxi nchini
No,
watra,
no.
toa kila mtu.
I think it's
Without
a start.
what?
So I get what you're saying, and I'm thinking for a large part of the population in 2002, I don't know if it was national values that drove them to the ballot. I don't think so. I think it was just wanting Moi gone. And while that is problematic, it was the beginning of the journey to a new constitution and to something that is definitely more solid. So is this a bad place to start? Just knowing what you don't want. Is it necessarily a bad place to start, or is it somewhere? Because I can think of situations where I didn't know what I wanted, but you experience something and you're like, absolutely not. It's like, okay, so not that. It's guiding you towards the what. So I don't think it's entirely a bad place to start, but I do see your problem. I do see. But even if...
So I agree. The identifying the problem is a good thing. But are we identifying the right problem? When we identify the problem and say that Janet is the problem,
Yes.
versus this system that is whatever doing with has co-opted Janet is an issue.
Yes.
Right? So that then we say that I am going to elect somebody who is not like Janet, who is not likely to be I'm going to identify Janet's weakness that's so have been co-opted. And so I'm going to look for a person who has a character that is not like Janet, that is not going to be co-opted, and I want them to go and fix the issue. We just say Janet atoke. Anybody else who comes.
Sinifukuza, by the way. Sorry. Go on.
Oh, no, bye.
But
You've tried your best.
You're like, I've just arrived.
Just arrived.
I've just arrived.
But I see
What
the
was
point
the
you're making.
toa Janet. So anybody else who comes, ati Lenah anaongea poa. I think Lenah is. See, Lenah ataongea hivyo. Lenah bedhe anatuambia vile Janet ni mbaya.
Yes.
So because Lenah is coming to remind us that Janet is bad, so we give Janet the opportunity. But we have not said Lenah does not have our brief,
Naelewa.
our social contract.
Nimekupata.
This is what we want you to do.
Nimekupata.
Umepata?
Nimekupata.
Na hujakataa?
Sijakata. Nasema tu, and I'm using 2002 as the example. I think almost anybody within the opposition, if they had the backing that Mwai Kibaki had, would have defeated President Moi.
Yes.
It's a start. I see the problem. We have not identified the what we want, but I think it's okay to start. It sends a message as well to anybody coming in that if you go this way, the same thing will happen to you, right? If we say go right and you go left, same thing will happen to you. So it's a good place to start as we try to figure out our ethos, our underlying values, our ideologies. But please, Lenah, tell us what you think, because I do think it's a good place to start. It's not the best, and I do understand that we need to start cultivating that ideologies. Even from the 90s and 80s, that was happening. It's just that it was not mass, and I think even now it's happening. It was just not. It's just not mass. But let's start with the mass knowing what they don't want. Some minorities knowing what they do want, and then that's spreading over time. I don't think it's a one-day thing. But Lenah, you let me know what you think.
The way I've understood Eric is talking about the structures that permit the evils to exist. And I can say that even if today we had a sinking ship, even if we remove the captain and replace him with another captain, the ship will still be sinking. So number one of the things that we need to do is we need to be able to address these things. Like, for instance, when I look at corruption, we have a body that is mandated, especially dealing with economic crimes, the SEC. We need to begin from there. Is this body doing its work? Because if at the end of the day, what we just do, like, for instance, I was looking at the impeachment of the former deputy president, and he said to have been corrupt. Why weren't there any charges that were leveled against him? You know, such kind of things. We have a lot of electoral system that don't work visually and all that. Because if you look at countries like Europe, I don't know, there was this lady who was a prime minister some time back. Right. And I think it reached a point whereby she could not perform well. So she herself, she resigned. You know, the system could not.
In the UK? No.
Not in the UK? There was a lady prime minister.
Yep.
They've had several. Theresa May, maybe?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of Theresa May?
Yes.
Okay, but yes, go on.
So she just resigned because, like, the system doesn't allow incompetence.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we
too
want.
Much.
And actually, something that I want to add, you know, in regards to us just being, you know, like the way we have Ruto must go and all those things, is that we must begin to look at the issues present. But today I'm going to vote in the ballot. I'm going to, if Eric is on the ballot, I'm not just voting for Eric. I'm voting for education. I'm voting for healthcare services and all those things. But we don't understand that. One of the things that has destroyed this country in terms of political leadership and governance, and especially during the campaigns, is what I call a political narrative. A political narrative is essentially like the engine of the campaign. It's amplified through slogans, songs, optics, PR, and all those things. And one of the things that political narrative seeks to achieve is to endear the politician to the people. So that people are able to see that, you know, that if it's Mariam, I see myself in Mariam. If you look at the 2022 elections, just look using the clearest example, I am not biased or anything, the current president used the hustler narrative.
True.
So the hustler narrative was made to make the people at the grassroots feel like, you know, this is one of us. I mean, if I came from a poor background, I'm able to understand, or I'm able to know the kind of challenges that you go through. Yeah. But narratives are derived from the circumstances at that particular moment. If you look at what happened in 2018, the former prime minister and the former president went into a handshake. And so these were two people from two wealthy and powerful families. So the current president managed to convince the people that, you know what, these are the problems that we have as a country. Yeah. And you see, if people are seeing that the problem, and then they're like, this one is a hustler. I mean, he dines like us, he eats like us, he walks like us, he acts like us. Then this is our Messiah. There's nothing that you can tell us about that. Yeah. But the problem with political narratives is that they appeal to the emotions of the people. And at the end of the day, they will appeal either to fear, anger, you know, hope, or all those things. But mostly in our countries, African countries, they appeal to anger. So what did people do in 2022 elections? They looked and said, these two, the duo, these are the problems. They're the reasons why we are going whatever we are going through as a country. Yes. So what did people do? Dynasty. They voted to punish the two of them. Yes. People did not vote actually because they believed in the manifesto of this other candidate. They were voting to punish. And that's a problem that I foresee actually in 2027, whereby people will be voting actually to punish certain communities because they have been radicalized by the politicians. Yes.
Oof. That's well observed.
Yes.
Emmanuel, no, there's somebody. Oh, Collins Kemboy says, it's us, the electorate, who don't have core values to believe in.
That's true.
I mean, we aspire not to inspire, but to expire. Collins.
Wow.
Charles, Jeremy Mutuma, Kenyans vote out who they don't want.
That's true.
Without scrutinizing whoever they're voting in, which leads to the same or worse governance problems. You've hit the nail on the head.
True.
You're emotional, you're emotive.
Yes.
It's about being measured. It's not that we invalidate the emotions, but by the time you're casting that ballot, do you have a clear conscience? Are you measured? You come.
Yes.
Are you saying I'm doing this not because I want to punish,
Yes.
but because I want to? I think that's a very
Yeah.
valid point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We figure out, yes, this is figuring out the how.
Yeah. We'll continue to thread. We'll leave it at that for now. Before we thank Lenah, we have Your World coming up next with Muikali and Winnie. How my mother's behavior affects my relationships today. Yeah, Your World, go there at 10 a.m. These are the things that you're forced to face. The mother wound. So that's the mother wound in adult relationships.
Right.
That is the conversation. If you're watching us on NTV right now, there's a flyer with who the panelists are, Wakonyo, a few other people who are coaches, psychologists, etc. So that's coming up in just a moment. We also have on Nation FM.
Yes. Brian Aseli, Claudia Naisabwa are on the Vibe Shift. You can hang with them from 10 until 2. Great music, amazing conversations. They're 2 10 over 10 vibes. Please go listen 96.3 Nation FM. Also ntvkenya.co.ke/Nation FM. Anywhere in the world. You can listen from anywhere. That's the beauty of technology.
We're international.
International.
Thank you, Lenah. Yeah.
Rick, Mariam,
Yeah.
I was more than glad, and I'm still more than glad to be here.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll have you
Karibu
back
sana.
for sure.
Thank
This
you.
conversation is moving the needle of fixing the nation.
Yes.
Very true.
100%.
And thank you
Very
for
true.
joining us for it.
Thank
you
you.
for also contributing by listening, by sending in your comments, by calling in throughout the show today. Tomorrow we'll be back 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. God willing. It's Tuesday.
And he'll be there at 9:30 p.m. as well for the last word.
Tomorrow.
So catch up tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 with
then-
Eric, Mariam, and Janet. Alafu,
And then-
9:30.
10.
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
See you tomorrow. Have a good day.